When I was in elementary school, the only way to be somebody was to play cool math games. Though it was a more of if you were good at cool math games. Computers weren't as widespread in schools as they are now, and back then we had computer labs. Flash forward a few years later and I'm in middle school. We each get our own personal computer and are told they are for strict academic use. So of course, the coolest kids had games downloaded on their laptops. But if you didn't want to break the student code of conduct, you could play cool math games. The main protagonist of the papaverse and face of Flipline Studios, Papa Louie is the world's greatest restaurateur and a world-famous chef. Often leaving restaurants with his favorite workers, of which he has often just met, he usually goes on vacation or business trips, 9 out of 10 leaving the business alone for the newbie to figure out. His businesses range from baked goods and breakfastry to savory wings and saucy pasta. With each new level, a different ingredient, customer, or order is unlocked, allowing for some of the best or worst creations. It's not a surprise to even see people purposefully antagonize characters they don't like. Chuck from Pizzeria is my own personal nemesis, ordering pineapples and chocolate syrup in his smoothies like some sort of Monma male lead without taste buds. People often will test the limits of the game's code as well, building orders to be thousands of wings high or pancakes, wasting customers' time and giving them an order they are unhappy with. Overall, a good day when you're being paid. Wait. Does Papa pay his employees? Listen, I get that Papa usually tricks most of his workers into working for him, blackmailing them emotionally or pulling a Willy Wonka and gifting them a restaurant instead of giving them wages. And I know what you might say, in the game, payday is every 7 days, weekly pay. What's not to love? Well, how long am I working? I might make 5 times what I make per hour in tips and I can't keep any of them. I have around $1.6 thousand in tips and they can only be spent to spruce up the store. What's the holdup? An employer cannot refuse to give a worker their tips. I'm not about to let this man run away with my tips. First, I found a Reddit post that has summaries of most of his crimes from the various games, and one specific accusation stuck out to me. Papa's hot doggeria is rather unique in the sense that Peggy, the protagonist, decides for herself that she wants to work at the hot doggeria in order to watch the baseball game that she wasn't able to get tickets to due to them all being sold out. Due to Peggy's choice to work there, we can only assume that she's somewhat prepared and comfortable in this kind of job, and she seems not to be worried when Papa Louie gives her the keys to the hot doggeria, while he goes off and watches the baseball game himself. And of course, due to the fact that she willfully applied to work there, at face value, nothing is wrong. But some, such as user Uatorian and user Gino5577, speculate that there might be a level of orchestration of events leading up to the hiring of these employees done by Papa Louie himself. If that's the case, the level of evil Papa Louie is willing to go to get people to work for him is astounding. With how many OSHA violations Papa breaks in a day, I wouldn't be surprised if he's orchestrating these events. How many errands must this man run if every single time he wants to open a restaurant, he's distracted? Or is opening a new restaurant the errand? Setting up these events like dominoes to act as some Taylor Swift mastermind and manipulate some poor civilian into laboring away for laughable wages. He will use ethos, pathos, and probably logos to manipulate these emotionally compromised people. From car crashes to hotel stays, this man will use a situation by his Machiavellian tactics, be hiring another employee by the end of the disaster. And for another point from the Reddit post, the user asks, just what happened at Donateria? How is it that people he forces to work for him always end up having the worst of luck right at the moment they arrive? User Gino5577 made an extremely good point. Papa Louie hires all of his employees himself, personally, rather than delegating that job to someone like a hiring manager. Louie uses the distraught emotional state that these potential workers are often left in order to manipulate them. It's easiest to get someone to do what you want, especially if what you want is workers at your restaurant, when they're going through tough times and need a helping hand. In many of the in-game flyers that Papa Louie will put up in order to get hires, he'll have it written, great tips. And while that's not wrong, I was tipped $9 once, it's still misleading. Because when you hear great tips, you would think you get to keep. But these workers, these hires, are doing every single job in the restaurant and must pour back the surplus they make in tips back into the restaurant, in the case of pizzeria, in order to upgrade and spruce up the place, make it more lively, more hospitable, more hip. Some of the posters even give buffs, like some sort of bad system manhwa. They might increase the customer's happiness with a specific order, increase their patience so they wait longer, and guess what these things don't influence? How much you get paid, but rather how much they tip you. Tip the restaurant, more like it. It's a feedback loop, a cycle you are trapped in. Papalouie is a criminal. This man will manipulate, lie, scheme, and scam his way into more minimum wage workers. How can the people of the flipverse keep coming back for more? Do they know what he does to the community? To the people? Is the food really that good? Or perhaps, has he put something in it? In the games When Burgers Attack or When Sundaes Attack, warp coins are used to pull Papalouie and his associates into different dimensions to fight off big bads. In Papalouie 2 and Papalouie 3, Radley and company unleash a powerful portal to pull Papalouie and the rest of the customers back to the land of Munchmore. And specifically in the third installment, they are caged and held captive by Radley's growing army of Sunday sources. An army that our captive chefs are unwillingly forced to create under the harsh direction of Radley himself. In the flipverse, warp coins are items that can be used to open portals to different dimensions. For example, Santa uses them to travel for Christmas, Radley uses them in Papa's sequel games, and in Papa's Cluckeria, Bonnie and Yolanda use it to escape from prison after they were found guilty of stealing Papalouie's secret recipe. But you have to wonder, where do these coins come from? The X Zone, or Kingdom of X, was where these warp coins had their start. Prior to its destruction, warp coins opened doorways to every location in the flipverse, throughout the long corridors of the kingdom. However, with its destruction, the warp coins were scattered across the universe. And tell me if this storyline seems like deja vu to anyone, because I feel like I've heard this before. But either way, destroyed by an asteroid with a very specific characteristic, a faint pink tail and the asteroid being crystal-like in nature, I can't help but wonder if there's some lore that we're missing. But Zandra and Zolo, the X-twins, were meant to be the royal guardians for the kingdom, and the warp coins in general, but were sent off the X-Zone before the coronation due to the impending destruction. The Zeppers, another species or race on or in the kingdom, were meant to be caregivers of a sort for the twins. However, with the destruction of the zone, they packed their bags with the twins in a balloon and jumped ship. The balloon landed somewhere in the flipverse, where Edna was able to become their foster mother. Through whatever means she was able to, her flip deck describes her as just finding the twins in her backyard, so becoming their official foster parent must have been hell. Zolo and his twin are described as crazy, though no more information can be found on why. Or rather, I did all this research I could and now I am tired. But this section isn't on the twins or the X-Zone alone, but what Papa took from it to use in his restaurant. Papa's negligence knows no bounds, and if this was a real restaurant, Gordon Ramsay would have shut his ass down years ago. Flavor X is a New Year special ingredient, only used and unlocked on this favorite holiday. But why does Papa favor this holiday? I think it'd be the day he opened his first restaurant, but I can't find any evidence to back this up, so I'll put this theory down. But what is Flavor X? And no, it is not sugar, spice, and everything nice. Papa had picked a batch of it up in the X-Zone, without knowing its recipe or what was in it, decided to start serving it to his customers, of which Zandra and Zolo are frequent enjoyers. Zolo even having it as his favorite flavor, topping, favorite whatever. But the question I had at the beginning of all of this was, is the food truly that good? Or perhaps, has he put something in it? I won't speak in absolutes and say that there is no doubt that this is the reason that customers keep coming back. But you have to look at the facts. The sauce, drizzle, dressing, or condiment is served at 10 out of his 17 of the restaurant, and with most of the customers eating at most, if not every location, it's not absurd to think that many of them have eaten this flavor. The Kingdom of X was the cornerstone, the core of the flipverse. Could something so precious influence the way people think about Papa's restaurant? Could these people affected be influencing their friends, their family? What about their children? Because not everyone is eating the sauce even if it's offered. So back to the question, why come back? Herd mentality and ignorance is a scary thing. These people choose to ignore what's in front of them for some admittedly good-looking food, but appearances can be deceiving. While Papa looks nice and earnest and well-meaning, there lies something darker under the surface. Anyway, thank you for watching. I was inspired by Dream Jelly's and Choopo's video and decided to close a few loose ends. Though the story did kind of run away from me, but please tell me your thoughts and your theories and your thoughts about my theories. And if you have anything to add, I'd love to hear it. Have a mocktail cocktail Cosmo to end your day. Good morning, good evening, and good night.